some reason, a lot of people in the House of the Dragon community want to point at Criston Cole and call him an incel. And if you're doing that, first off, you're completely wrong. And in this video, we're going to break down why you're completely wrong and why he's not an incel. He might be something else, but he's not an incel. And if you call him an incel, you might as well just bash your head up against that like button real quick.
I am not quite as sympathetic toward Criston Cole, but I don't think he's an incel. I don't think he's an incel either. But before we get into it, like the video, like you said, subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. Tell us what you think about Criston Cole.
Criston Cole, right? Let's just first go with the word incel. People throw this, insult around, but an incel is an involuntary celibate, meaning some person who can't have sex by choices not of their own, right?
They want to, but they can't do it. That's what an incel is.
Right. But he is a member of the kingsguard, who are, by definition, volcels, voluntary celibates. Just like people, I think incels would be a more better description for the Night's Watch, right? People that either I'm going to get my head cut off or I'm going to take the black, right?
Yeah, the majority of them anyway. Obviously, like Jon Snow are these people. I think Aemon Targaryen as well. But yeah, the vast majority of these people, dude, they're incels. That is an actual incel. A bad person. You can tell they're disgruntled about it. The kingsguard is overall a lot of really secure in themselves men, I think. They're definitely not incels on average. And Criston Cole doesn't meet that definition either. Dude, we see Criston Cole. He plows.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want to. It's like the exact opposite. In that scene where Rhaenyra seduces him or whatever, however you want to see it, I don't even think he wanted to do it, and he still did it. It's like the polar opposite of an incel. He didn't want to do it and still was forced to.
Right. I mean, like, if you look at Rhaenyra, like, who wouldn't, right? Most people are like, yeah, if I'm a single guy, she's tempting me in. And, like, there's no power dynamic, just a regular situation. Most people would do that. But the power dynamic, we're going to get, I think, into that later. But, yeah, the whole thing about the Criston Cole being an incel, by definition, is 100% wrong. Now, I think what people might look at is say he is a simp, right? Like, he might be a simp for Rhaenyra. And I don't know if he's that much of a simp, as I rewatch it and go back. Sure, he's, like, in love with her a little bit, but, like, who isn't, by their first time? Rhaenyra is the one that's, like, some heartless, fiend that just, like, uses him like a Kleenex and just throws him away. Just like, don't worry, you can just be what I just mop up my, like, nasty cooch with, right? Like, he's more than just a sex toy. He's a person with feelings and worries and aspirations, and she just uses him. Like, if you reverse the,
you and Criston Cole need to get a room, because listen, it's not that. It's not that. Well, absolutely a simp, dude. He is.
He's not
I'm not
simp.
saying he's an incel. He's a complete simp, dude. I understand he didn't want to break his vow with Rhaenyra, but guess what? He still succumbed to it, dude. This is a man. Are you kidding me? What about Rhaenyra's personality up to this point indicates that if he said no, she would go and, like, accuse him of trying to sleep with her or something? That's not very, you don't know, but it's not very on brand for her. And this is a guy who spends 24 hours a day. It's her hired guard, right? Or her personal shield, whatever you want to say. There's no way, absolutely not. He does it. He breaks his vow willingly. And then, I don't know what the separation of time here is, but give it a couple days, a couple weeks, and Criston Cole says, you know what? I already broke my vow once. Fuck it. Let's just blow everything away. Let's go to the Let's go to the East Continent and live poor the rest of our lives. I don't give a shit. I'm willing to throw it all away for you. Please, I love you
in his mind.
much.
Okay, listen. In his mind, he's already thrown it all away by sleeping with her. He's already, like, disgraced his white cloak. Everything he's worked up to this point that he thought he was on the right track and making a name for his lowborn self has now been thrown out the trash, at least internally, to himself, right? He's, like, gone against his own integrity. So he feels like he cheated himself. It's almost like, when it's like whenever, like, you're going on a diet or something and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have a cheat day. It's like, oh yeah, most people won't look at you as a weirdo on the street and be like, this guy's weak-willed. But internally, it's like, dude, I can't control myself. Like, that's disgusting. Like, how can I not have integrity?
Okay, but a cheat day turns into a cheat weekend, which turns into a cheat week, which turns into a cheat year, and then you're just a happy fat guy who doesn't give a shit. Yeah, absolutely. You don't care anymore. You don't hate yourself. That's not real life. Criston Cole, and this is the thing too. Follow the steps here, all right? Criston Cole abandons he breaks his vow.
Right.
He sleeps with Rhaenyra. Okay, he may be a little upset about this. That's true. But instead of going straight to the seppuku thing, which he does later,
he doesn't. Okay, listen, he didn't just, like, go as soon as he leaves the room and grabs a knife.
I know, that's my point. He before he goes to that stage, he tries to abandon it even further. He's like, you know what? Let me double triple down on this vow break. And then in the face of my seven great hot slimy deities, I'm just going to abandon the Kingsguard altogether. And I'm going to hopefully take this princess with me, the one who's supposed to rule the realm one day. Like he went from 0 to 100 and doubled, tripled down. Only when he was rejected, like doubled down upon by Rhaenyra, did he decide to take that knife to his gut. Okay. Really inefficient way to kill yourself too. Like how stupid can you be?
Listen, I'm not saying he's a bright guy, right? I don't know if he's holding that knife the right way, to be honest with you.
He's going handle first.
But with Criston Cole, right, he's in a situation where, okay, he's dishonored his oath, right? Something that he thought was, honorable. He wants to uphold himself to this high standard, the Kingsguard. And he takes his oath seriously. He's not like, right. Daemon who just, can willy-nilly kill his wife off whenever he wants, right? He makes a Hail Mary pass. Like, I might as well offer to marry her because what is she going to say? No? Okay, cool. Then, I'm already kind of...
No, I get that. I understand.
I'm screwed. I think internally he thinks he screwed himself. There's the only way I can make my... Because he says this on the boat where he's like, this is the only way I thought I could make right. And then later on, as he's like, dude, I'm a fucking piece of shit. Please don't gild me. Please just kill me, Alicent. Please don't kill me. Then all of a sudden, Joffrey Longmouth comes up to him and is like, oh, isn't it cool being paramours? He's like, dude, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, the night of tonsil kisses, taunting him or whatever. But that's not even part of it. That's not even a factor. I understand that he said that. He said, oh, this is the only way that I think that I could make this right is if we get married and legitimize this, but we're going to have to do it in secret and go live in squalor for the rest of our lives with a bunch of people with, let's just say, a lot darker skin than us in a very warm and sandy environment. You know what I mean? Like, that sucks. First of all, I think that's like peak simpage. That's almost like guilt tripping Rhaenyra, or like trying to manipulate. No. I think it is. It's like, well, you kind of made me break my vow, and really the only way I see this being righted is if we go and abandon our current lives and break all of our vows and abandon all of our families and traditions and go do this thing that's totally foreign and forget about it. Just leave our life behind, kind of Laenor and Carl style, right? There's no way. And then when that doesn't work, he feels so bad for himself. He's so pouty, or maybe he's just trying to escape accountability, that he goes and takes a knife to his stomach. And only when, the cake of the kingdoms, the cake of the seven kingdoms, Alicent shows up at his front door, knock, knock, knock. I'm your new simp, mommy. You see the stars in Criston Cole's eyes when she showed up? If Beesbury showed up there, if Otto showed up there, you think he would have turned around? I don't think so.
Listen, this is like if some reason, I'm trying to think of a good hierarchy to compare this to, but if I had a teacher that I wronged and I was like, dude, I'm going to get screwed over by this teacher. I have to look over my shoulder always, because not only was I worried about that I did this with this teacher, but now this teacher told some other person who I ended up killing by accident, right? Like, our secret might be out, but all of a sudden, like, the dean comes up to me and goes, don't worry, I got you. Like, I would feel secure in his arms, right? I'd go like, okay, cool, thank you. Like, oh, I do feel secure. If you say it's all going to be okay, I feel better with you than with her, because with her, she has all the cards and she can just play whatever, fiddle she wants. But like, I told the story to Alicent now. Like, I understand why Criston Cole like comes to this Alicent mommy, like, oh, thank you for keeping me safe. But how do you feel safe as Criston Cole if you did this with Rhaenyra and now you're within King's Landing, and if this secret were ever to come out, which it happens to come out during this wedding to this Longmouth guy who can't keep his mouth shut, if that comes out, you're screwed. Like, these are high stakes, and with what reward? Like, with just getting some action on the side, that is that's like very low reward, honestly.
Well, listen, I get it. I get it, and I'm not saying that anything you said is wrong, because everything you just said is correct. But I don't think that's really what it comes down to, because everybody knows in this world it's a really hostile environment. People are dying left and right. There's betrayals all the time. So if you do something like this, especially with somebody as prominent as Rhaenyra, yeah, there's a good chance that you're going to suffer and die. But the way it's framed is that it's all kind of based on honor rather than danger. So if Criston Cole's concern was really about the vow breaking, it wouldn't matter if Alicent came over there and did whatever. Like, yeah, he confessed himself. By Alicent just telling him, like, oh, no, that's okay, I don't really care about that. That doesn't really matter, because this is just one random person's, I understand she's the queen, but it's still just a random person's interpretation. Like, Alicent didn't tell anybody. Like, don't you find that kind of suspicious? Like, we're just going to keep that between us. Criston Cole should know immediately by that as like, yeah, my dishonoring is no less extreme now. Like, I still did a terrible thing. Well,
yeah, okay,
all isn't just good now, because like
no,
immediately after this too, in his mind, I think it is. He's just disgruntled.
Right, but he's like playing the hand that's dealt to him at this point, right? He can't really go back and just feel unbad about it, right? He can't feel just good about what's going on about the situation that just occurred. He can't do that. So he has to do something about it. So one thing was, I'm going to confess, at least, which is a good thing to do. I mean, that's a good guy thing to do, right? I'm going to confess to my sins. I mean, if he really wanted to confess, he would have told King V, you know, like, this is what happened with your daughter. Please just
exactly
kill me.
what I mean. This is kind of a rando, and it's not like he told the most important person in the realm. He told, inherited hand, right? Like the vice president or the first lady. It's like that. There's no power there. That this person does not have any judgment over what you did, whether or not what you did is right.
With Criston Cole, he's put in a bad situation. He's trying to do the best with this situation as he can, with just this overbearing guilt over his head, that like he has to do something about it. Like, I don't know. I grew up in a very, religious household. Like, there'll be times where there's the guilt is over my head and it's just like overbearing. It's like, I gotta say something. I gotta confess. I gotta say this. Mom, Dad, this is what I did. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't kill me. Like I can relate with that. I mean,
how'd that work out?
I have a successful small YouTube channel now, I guess.
Successful, unsuccessful YouTube channel. That's true. Listen, we've come pretty far. Listen, I agree with that too. Listen, all right, little tiny story time. When old Gator was 4 years old, okay, I was in preschool, and there was this play penny that was like maybe 4 inches across, and I loved this little play penny, okay? I loved it so much, I didn't want anybody else to play with it, so I hid it behind the play oven that was like too big for me to move by myself, and then I didn't really think about it till afterwards, that, oh, fuck, like I can't even access this thing myself now, why'd I do that? But I felt so guilty because the teacher said, like, hey, where'd this penny go? Who took this penny? Because it was a hot item, let's just say that, around the classroom, and I was so upset. My mom will tell me the story to this day that I was like a different person for like a week straight. And finally, I broke down in the car and I screamed and cried and I told her what I did because I felt so horrible about it. Now I do not have that moral compass.
I know you don't
give a shit anymore.
In like third grade, you committed almost a mass genocide of monarch butterflies with those eggs.
That was not me. That was my partner. Who you remember who that is? You remember who that was? I was just a witness. I was just following orders. Okay, it wasn't me. I was just doing what I was told, and they were larvae. They weren't even butterflies.
Listen, that's what Criston Cole is doing. He's just doing what he's told, and then he's just put in his bad situation. He's literally, honestly, just following orders. If you think about it, right? Cole is to Rhaenyra when he goes in the bedroom. She wants him in there. He's like, no, I'm not coming in there. And then she just, And can you imagine if you flip the sexes in the situation? How many people wouldn't call Criston Cole an incel,
Right, he'd be like a Giga Chad, right? Like seducing this woman, or an R word, right? A rapist.
I'm saying like if you switch the roles, so it's like Aegon with some guard that's a woman somehow for whatever reason. I'm trying to think of a situation like that. There's no like, well, he has that one maid that comes in, right?
Yeah, with the plan BT.
Right, but let's just assume that maid kind of liked it. Right, you would still say, yeah, dude, but there's still a power dynamic there. Like people have this happens all the time with, for some reason, like I guess we just hear about it more often because YouTubers are sloppier than like high executives in these big businesses. But people use their clout and they'll be fans of them and they're like, hey, wouldn't you want to come hang out with me? You seem like a cool fan, and people get charged with by the court of public opinion that you were, this was a power dynamic that you're exploiting.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I think there's kind of a difference between a couple things. One, Aegon and like this lowly maid. That difference between a queen and like the future captain of the kingsguard, already a kingsguard. Okay, there's a little bit of a difference there, I think.
He was like the lowest person of the kingsguard though at that time, though.
Okay, well, he's not going to be for very long, all right? And then
I know, because he picked the right horse. He picked Alicent.
He picked the wrong whore, Rhaenyra. But I think that the fact that Rhaenyra is so young too. How old is she in this moment? Not book ages, but in the show, she's probably what, 16 at this time, maybe.
Something
like that. And he's probably in his early 20s at this point. Okay, so it's not like there is not a huge age difference, but this age difference isn't in reverse. Like I've never really heard about a power dynamic where a younger person is able to take advantage of an older person. Like that's, if you were talking about like the court of public opinion and how things operate in 2023. I'd say more often than not, the power dynamic comes from an age gap versus like a position of power, or maybe both. I think it's like if a CEO is like 50 years old and he's taking advantage of his 25-year-old secretary. Like I don't know about like a 25-year-old female CEO taking advantage of her 40-year-old male secretary. I just don't think it really has the same weight.
Well, I just think because usually in that situation, I think most men will be like, "Oh, that's cool. She's the breadwinner and she wants to use me. Cool." I mean, that's just like, that's the difference of like, whatever, the biology of the two genders, right?
Okay, right. But real quick, sorry, not to interrupt you, but that's what I mean. And he didn't even do that. He didn't say, like, oh, sweet, like I get a free ride here for a while till she finds a real husband. No, he says, oh my God, I'm developing such feelings for you, Rhaenyra. Let's run away together, please. Please, let's run away together.
You're missing the part where he goes, okay, he just feels like he dishonored himself, but he also is falling for her, and he has two choices: stay there with her, watch her potentially get married to some person, and then have this secret in the back of his head always, or try to run away with her and then, at least be in control of potentially your next moves versus just being reactionary to any sort of movements going to be happening within the court. Does that make sense? Which one would you rather have for him, or which one would you rather go down as a path? I think I'd rather have the second one. Let's run away together versus just sitting there being like Sir Criston Cole, like just sitting there watching another guy rail at the girl you love. That's probably a more low T thing for him to do.
Okay, it is more low T, but he makes a lot of low T moves I think are pretty similar to that in the future, and they don't indicate to me that he's really concerned about this secret coming out either. Like he wants to keep it under wraps by any means necessary, or he feels super ashamed. When he goes on his little tirade, or at least he's supportive of the Greens, and this is more true in the books too. He's a staunch supporter of Rhaenyra, of the rumors of Rhaenyra, cheating on Laenor, or at least
he has eyeballs.
He's Harwin strong.
He has eyeballs.
Okay, correct. Yep, agreed. But the fact that he would even open his mouth about that risks the possibility that if that ever came out and is just widely accepted as public fact by everybody, let's say it's even proven somehow, maybe by Harwin Strong or Laenor or whoever, like if Laenor says, yeah, those aren't my kids. If that happened, then why wouldn't Rhaenyra just say, all right, fuck it. The captain of the Kingsguard, the guy who swore an oath, guess what? He was my first. I fucked the shit out of this guy. So what are you going to do now, Criston? If honor was really at the peak of his priorities, wouldn't he be a little concerned about that? Keep his head down instead of having this,
the reason why his head
tirade against them the rest of his life.
But the whole reason why he jumps up there and starts wanting to, or he feels like very ballsy about some of his statements, is because Alicent backs him, right? And he feels safe there. If Alicent never came around, and for some reason he just want to keep his mouth shut, I think he'd be very timid, and he'd be like a little Rhaenyra lap boy, or lap dog, But there's no win-win, there's no winning situation for Criston Cole. I think this is the best situation for him though, to go this way versus being like a little cuck to whatever man Rhaenyra. I think there is a different timeline or a different world where Criston Cole says, "Hey, I'm gonna have sex with Rhaenyra, and then my children will actually be the heirs, like basically the Harwin stand-in or replacement, where his children now will be sitting in the Iron Throne." And if he really cared about power, that would be the move for him. But he doesn't really care about that. He just cares about love and duty, and he's probably the most chivalrous. What would be the correct term of that? Chivalrous.
Yeah, chivalrous.
Anyway.
Chauvinist.
Yeah, he's the most chauvinist.
Okay, he's a simp, all right.
Okay,
I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying he's not duty, but I'm not saying he's like power hungry either. I'm just saying the guy is a simp, and he's not even treating it right. If he was, listen, he needs to adopt. Maybe he's pissed at Daemon because he's pissed at Daemon. Okay, he does not like Daemon at all either, and I think maybe there's a little more to that than we think. What does Daemon do when he does something bad or whatever? He goes down to the pub, down to the brothel, and he starts bragging about it. He's cracking jokes all the time. Dude, Criston Cole, if he was any sort of man, he'd walk down to the nearest brothel, bar, whatever, wherever his boys are hanging out. He doesn't have any male friends, by the way. Huge red flag. If he would go down with Eric and Arik, and he'd say, dudes, no joke, like before Rhaenyra was with Harwin, before she was with Daemon, before she was with Laenor, I plugged that.
No. Why would he say that? Why would he say that?
What do you mean?
Because then they know, and then they can use it against him if he ever
How dude, so? Alicent's got his back.
Dude, Criston Cole owes me money.
What could they do?
I'm gonna tell the commander of the Kingsguard unless you pay me my money back, or unless you just pay me this money. Period. Sir Criston Cole.
I don't know why there's all this like money laundering and loan sharking going on in the Kingsguard community.
I'm just trying to think of like in the most disgusting like the most vile place in Westeros is generally the Red Keep, where all of like people, all the snakes and rats are there. So you don't think that somehow bleeds into the Kingsguard at all?
All right, I think maybe it bleeds into the kingsguard, but listen, one of the kingsguard having sex with the princess, like maybe that's like a little bit oath breaky. But yeah, as far as you're saying, like snaky and schemy wise, that's not even that bad. And again, why would he care if they know? If Alicent's got his back, that's all that matters, right?
I mean, you definitely have a lot more weight in your back, I guess, to say like, hey, whoever said that, yeah, all they want to do is defame me. Generally, too, I will agree though that this character, him like Criston Cole himself, has taken a step down compared to his book counterpart, because in the books he's way cooler, he's way more even keeled, he doesn't seem so emotional, and doesn't fly off the handle and just like accidentally kill Beesbury. Every decision he makes with Beesbury is a definitive one. It's like either slit your throat, throw it out the window, or put you in the dungeon. But they're not a single one was, I'm gonna hit your head really hard against this
accidentally.
See how well your head bounces against this table.
Yeah, little marble eyeball for some reason. Yeah, no, Criston Cole's way better in the book, man. As far as, maybe I misinterpreted it too, but in the book, is it even a for sure thing that he had sex with Rhaenyra?
No, I don't think anywhere it states that there's...
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I think it's just the two accounts from either Eustace or Mushroom, right? That either Criston Cole went in there to try to like confess his love to Rhaenyra, or Criston Cole went in there and then Rhaenyra tried to seduce him. Because if that's the case, if it's that second one that's the case, where Rhaenyra tried to seduce him, and then he is very disgruntled about that the rest of his life, that actually makes a lot more sense for like an honor-bound person. Because then it's like, dude, how does Rhaenyra, this person that I thought was my friend and like, I protect her life, how does she take my vow and like my job so not seriously? You know what I mean? Like, does she really think herself that important to where she could just play with my life like this? That makes way, way, way more sense. And I was talking to you before we started recording this, but if the way that they intend for this show to be is for this to be like the omniscient, definite view of what happened in this time, like George R. R. Martin is a part of this production, so it's not like this is just people taking his work and doing their own thing. So if the book is supposed to be kind of a history, subjective point of view thing from Mushroom or Eustace or whoever, and then this show is supposed to be the objective, actually what happened version of those events, I don't like that very much for a lot of reasons, but this Criston Cole thing is definitely one of them. Because again, there is definitely some interpretations from the book where this guy does not seem unreasonable at all. And we see later on, he's a pretty competent leader in battle, and also a combatant. So I just, you know what I'm saying? I think that there's a way in the book this could be taken way, way, way better.
Yeah, my headcanon for Criston Cole is he's, first off, anyone that says he's an incel is an idiot. He's not an incel.
Yeah, agree.
He's a volcel at best, but even that, he voluntarily threw that away, right, to get a little bit of action with Rhaenyra. And if anything, you can argue, like you've done today, that he is a simp, but that's it. You can't argue that he's anything more than potentially a simp, and has some very disgruntled views against the person that will just wants to play. And I guess that's my biggest thing is, people don't view Rhaenyra. They kind of just say like, well, that's what royal people do. It's like, okay, well, are you just going to hand wave these bad actions by Rhaenyra that she can just, use him as like some plaything, and it's not going to have some ramifications internally to him, and that he's going to
exactly.
Implode. Like
he's low-born. He's low-born, man. The Kingsguard is like the highest thing he could hope to achieve in his life, and she just plays with it like it's nothing. So in that interpretation, totally understand his point of view.
Well, like with Robert, right? It's not like Robert is having sex with women and promising, or like, getting this very intimate, sensual relationship with these women. It seems like, it more so seems like he's just having flings with them,
Yeah, he is,
with women, but the women aren't like bound by honor to keep their, chastity belts on. And Robert's like, oh, don't worry, it'll be our little secret. It's like that seems way more intimate than like, hey, you're a prostitute down in, Flea Bottom, I'm going to put it in,
Yeah, no, exactly. I totally agree. There's a huge difference between all this stuff. And, but at the end of the day, though, I do think he's a simp. Okay, he's a simp. He's a simpleton. Maybe you can revoke the simp card at some point in his life when he's no longer a simp and he's now operating just in his career with maybe some residual feelings of disgruntledness from his past, from his simp days. But I don't know, man. I kind of think once a simp, always a simp.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and smash that like button.
Or not. We don't care.